The New York Times has published an article about the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and surprisingly, they are no longer writing about the failure of the offensive. In summary, in 3 sentences, the Ukrainian armed forces stopped using US tactics as part of their counteroffensive. The Ukrainian side is now focused on wearing down Russian forces with artillery and long-range missiles. The Ukrainians may revert to the American way of warfare if the AFU breaks through Russian defenses. Not if, but when. And in general, I am surprised that everyone counted on liberation of a huge territory faster than it happened on the right bank of Kherson region. How quickly events that are not even a year old are forgotten. What is happening in Zaporizhia region? What is the phase of the offensive there? When will be the breakthrough of the second line of defense? It is in this context, I want to remember the liberation of Kherson. You remember how quickly everything happened there. But there is a nuance. It was fast only in the very last phase of the offensive. We can talk about the offensive of the Ukrainian Defense Forces in the Kherson region in full after the Ukrainian units began to force the Ingulets River, and gain a foothold on its left bank. In fact, this process began in May 2022, and it is fair to consider this starting point as the beginning of the liberation of the right bank. Yes, according to official information, the order to develop a plan for the occupation of southern Ukraine came from the president on July 10, but the process itself started in May, but its intensification took place just in July, when the first strikes were made on Antonov and Kakhovka bridges. So the start was in May, intensification in July, activation of the main forces, August 29th, preparation of Russian public opinion for the inevitable flight from Kherson, October, and finally, the liberation of Kherson, November 11th. Total, almost half a year. If someone is comfortable, you can divide all this into so-called phases. And now, just superimpose the scenario of liberation of the right bank Kherson region on the processes that are now taking place in the Zaporizhia region. Just like a year ago, the Ukrainian forces started with combat reconnaissance and continue to advance deep into the first line of defense, then there were bridges. Progressively something happens to the Crimean Bridge, the Chonga bridges, and this is just a prelude. Alongside, mundane and routine daily burning warehouses with ammunition, fuel and lubricants, undermining logistics, disrupting the supply of forward units and their management, degrading logistics. Yes, someone will rightly note that Zaporizhia region, together with the left bank Kherson region, is a much larger area, and the group of troops there is concentrated 6 times larger. But at the same time, this mass has all the same problems as the one that was knocked out of the right bank. And now, let's project the problems of the 25,000 group, which compactly occupied the bridgehead of the right bank, onto the 150,000 group, the logistics of which, among other things, stretches for hundreds of kilometers, not dozens. Look closely and you will notice that Colossus is sagging under its weight. Based on all of the above, one can make quite realistic forecasts that consistently involve September, October, and November, but this note is not about that. It's about critical thinking, equanimity, and faith in Ukraine's defense forces. I hope I didn't confuse you very much. Did I manage to convey everything? I look forward to your comments. I read everything, I don't always reply.